4,000 years ago, a man stood in the desert with dirt under his fingernails and planted a tree that would outlive him by centuries. But this wasn't about shade. This wasn't about fruit. Abraham was doing something that would seem absolutely insane to us today. He was making a statement about God that most modern believers have completely forgotten. And here is what he's hunting. The type of tree he chose reveals something about the nature of eternity that changes everything we think we know about faith, time, and why we're all so exhausted. Genesis 21:33 is one sentence, 21 words in English. Most people skip right over it. But buried in those words is a name for God so radical that Abraham had to plant something permanent just to make his point. The name is Elolam, the everlasting God. And what Abraham understood about this name is the exact cure for the anxiety epidemic we are drowning in right now. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you planted anything expecting to see it fully grown? When was the last time you started something you knew you'd never finish? We live in an instant world. 2-day shipping feels slow. Buffering videos make us rage quit. We want results yesterday, transformation by next Tuesday. But Abraham plants a tamarisk tree. Here's where it gets interesting, and this detail matters more than you think. A tamarisk tree in the Negev desert grows incredibly slowly, decades before it provides substantial shade. Some tamarisks live for over 500 years. Abraham was 80-something years old when he did this. He would never sit under its full canopy. He would never see what it would become. So why plant it? Before I answer that, I need you to understand what Elolam meant in Abraham's world, because it wasn't just poetic, it was revolutionary. If you're already finding this valuable, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to go deep into something most sermons completely miss. The ancient world was terrified of time. Every civilization around Abraham, the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Canaanites, they all worshipped gods who were trapped in time just like humans were. Their gods had birthdays. They got old, they got tired, they fought, they died. The Egyptian sun god Ra had to battle through the underworld every single night just to rise again. The Mesopotamian gods literally got exhausted from maintaining creation and created humans to do their work for them. Time was eating the gods alive, which meant time was eating humanity alive. But then Abraham shows up in Beersheba and calls out a name, Elolam, the everlasting God. The God who has no beginning, the God who has no end, the God who isn't racing against time because he invented time. He's outside of it, above it, unaffected by it. This was borderline blasphemy to everyone listening. Every other God aged. Elolam doesn't. Every other God could be defeated. Elolam can't. Every other God needed something from you. Elolam needs nothing. He simply is, was, and always will be. And here is the part that should make your spine tingle. Abraham plants a tree that will outlive him to physically represent a God who outlives everything. The tree becomes a living sermon. Every year it grows. It's preaching our lives are a breath, but God is forever. Now let me tell you why this matters to you today. You're probably feeling like time is somehow moving too fast and too slow at the same time. You're aging faster than you want to. Your kids are growing up before you're ready. But also the day drags. The work week crawls. Waiting for change feels like watching paint dry. You're caught in this torture chamber where time is simultaneously your enemy and your prison. And here is what we have lost. We have forgotten that we were never meant to bear the weight of eternity on mortal shoulders. Abraham knew something we've forgotten in our instant everything culture. He knew that attaching yourself to Elolam means you can finally stop trying to make everything happen in your limited time frame. In Genesis 21, right before Abraham plants this tree, he makes a covenant with Abimelech, the local king. It's a peace treaty about water rights, which in the desert means survival. After all the negotiations, Abraham does something that seems unnecessary. He plants a tree and worships Elolam. Why? Because Abraham is saying, this treaty we just made, it's important, but it's temporary. You'll die, Abimelech. I'll die. Our children will die. But the God we're making this oath before, he'll still be here. The truth will still be here. If this is clicking for you, drop a comment below and tell me what part is hitting you hardest. I actually read these. Let's dig into the Hebrew because there's treasure here. El is the generic word for God, power, might, authority. Olam is where it gets fascinating. Olam doesn't just mean eternal in the sense of endless time. It means hidden, concealed, beyond the horizon of human understanding. Its time stretched so far in both directions that it disappears from human view. Olam appears 439 times in the Old Testament. When combined with El, you get a name that essentially means the God who exists beyond human time horizons in every direction. But here is what is absolutely critical. Abraham doesn't encounter Elolam in a mountaintop experience or burning bush. He encounters this eternal God in the middle of a very messy, very human situation involving treaties, water disputes, and political tension. The everlasting God shows up in Tuesday afternoon problems. And this is exactly where we get it wrong. We've somehow convinced ourselves that eternal truths are only for eternal moments. We save Elolam for funerals and crisis prayers. We pull out everlasting God when we're desperate. But Abraham plants a tree on a random Tuesday after signing paperwork. He's saying, the eternal God cares about this mundane moment, this normal day. Now watch how this flips your entire perspective. If Elolam is present in the mundane, then your regular Wednesday morning stuck in traffic, running late, wondering if any of this matters. That morning is held in eternal hands. Your job that feels pointless, Elolam sees it in a context you can't. Your relationship that's struggling, Elolam has a timeline you don't have access to. Your prayers that seem unanswered, Elolam is working on a schedule that makes your impatience look like a toddler asking, "Are we there yet?" 30 seconds into a cross-country road trip. This isn't about being passive. Abraham wasn't passive. He negotiated, he planted, he acted. But he acted while anchored to eternity. And if you haven't already, smash that like button because we're about to connect dots that most people miss entirely. Tamarisk trees have a survival mechanism that's almost miraculous. In the harsh desert, they can absorb salt water that would kill most plants and excrete the salt through their leaves. The tree literally transforms poison into something useful. Abraham plants this specific tree in Beersheba on the edge of the wilderness. It's a boundary place. Civilization ends here. Chaos begins there. And right on that edge, Abraham plants something that will thrive in conditions that destroy everything else. You see what he's doing? Elolam doesn't just exist above time. He works in the wasteland. He transforms the uninhabitable into something that sustains life. And it takes time. Slow, unglamorous, patient time. The tamarisk doesn't explode into existence. It grows gradually, imperceptibly some days, but relentlessly, year after year. This is the spiritual life we've completely abandoned in our microwave culture. Can I be honest with you? I think most of us are exhausted because we are trying to operate on viral time instead of tamarisk time. We want to blow up, break through, break out now. We've been discipled by social media metrics and 30-day challenges. We've lost the ability to plant something that we won't see fully grown. And worse, we've started to believe that God operates on our timeline. But Elolam doesn't do instant. He does eternal, which means he's often doing things in you that won't make sense for years, decades even. The character he's building right now in this season of waiting, that's a tamarisk tree. The patience you're being forced to develop, tamarisk. The faith you're exercising when nothing seems to be happening, tamarisk, tamarisk, tamarisk. What if your marriage wasn't about your happiness in the next 6 months but about reflecting Elolam's faithfulness over 50 years? What if your parenting wasn't about raising successful kids but about planting truths that will bear fruit in grandchildren you will never meet? Drop a comment if this is challenging the way you think about time and purpose. Genesis 21:33 says Abraham called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. The Hebrew word for called is kara, to call out, to proclaim, to summon. Abraham wasn't just praying privately. He was making a public declaration. In the ancient Near East, planting a sacred tree and proclaiming a divine name was how you established worship space. Abraham is saying, this place now belongs to the acknowledgement of Elolam. Every traveler who rests under this tree will be confronted with the reality of the everlasting God. And here is what is profound. The text says Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time right after this. After decades of moving from place to place, he plants a tree and stays. There is something about anchoring yourself to Elolam that allows you to finally rest in time instead of racing against it. Modern psychology has actually caught up with what Abraham knew. Research on time perspective shows that people who hold what is called a transcendent future orientation, seeing their actions as part of something that continues beyond their lifetime, report significantly higher life satisfaction and lower anxiety. In other words, people who plant tamarisk trees are happier than people who only plant annuals. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals who engage in self-transcendent thinking showed reduced activity in brain regions associated with anxiety and threat response. Abraham wasn't just being spiritual, he was being psychologically healthy. But here is the kicker: you can't pull this off if you don't believe in Elam. If time ends with you, then you have to accomplish everything within your 70 or 80 years, and that pressure will crush you. But if Elam is real, if there really is a God who was before the mountains, then you can breathe, then you can plant trees. Hit that subscribe button if this is shifting something in you. Let's get practical. How do you actually live in light of Elam today? How do you plant tamarisk trees in a TikTok world? First, identify where you've been operating on human timelines and pretending they're God's timelines. Where have you decided that if something doesn't happen by a certain date, God has failed? Most of those timelines are completely arbitrary. You made them up based on what seems reasonable to you. When Abraham was 75 years old, God promised him a son. Isaac was born when Abraham was 125 years, and during that time, Abraham made spectacular mistakes trying to hurry God along. But the promise came exactly when Elam intended it. What are you trying to force into bloom that God is growing as a tamarisk? Second, start making decisions based on what will matter in 50 years, not what feels urgent this week. In your relationships, stop trying to resolve every conflict immediately. Some things take years to heal. Plant honesty, plant presence, plant consistency, and trust Elam with the timeline. In your career, stop chasing the promotion and start building the character that will sustain you when you get it. Position without maturity is catastrophe waiting to happen. In your spiritual life, stop treating prayer like a vending machine. Start treating it like planting a tree, establishing something that will deepen and grow over time. If you're still watching, comment Elam below. I want to know this message resonated. Here is what I love about Abraham's story. He doesn't plant the tamarisk tree at the beginning of his journey. He plants it toward the end. He's been walking with God for decades. He's seen miracles. He's made mistakes. He's been terrified and faithful, sometimes in the same day. And after all of that, he plants a tree. It's like he finally gets it. Finally understands that this isn't about him racing to accomplish everything before he dies. It's about joining what Elam is already doing, has always been doing, will always be doing. Abraham's life is a chapter in an eternal story, not the whole story itself. And the same is true for you. You are not the hero of history. You're a participant in a story written by Elam, and your part matters precisely because it's part of something that transcends you. The pressure is off. You don't have to save the world by Friday. You just have to plant your tree. That tree Abraham planted probably doesn't exist anymore. 4,000 years is a long time, even for a tamarisk. But the God he worshipped underneath it, still here, still everlasting. Still working on timelines we can't see, building things that won't be finished in our lifetimes. Elam, the everlasting God, he's inviting you to stop living like time is your enemy and start living like it is his gift. To stop racing against the clock and start planting things that will matter when the clock stops. To breathe deeply, work faithfully, love consistently, and trust that what you build in obedience will bear fruit long after you're gone. Abraham knew that true faith isn't measured in immediate results. It's measured in what still stands when you're no longer around to maintain it. So what's your tamarisk tree? What are you being called to plant that you won't see fully grown? What decision, what habit, what commitment is God asking you to root in the ground, knowing you're investing in forever? Whatever it is, plant it. Call on Elam, and then stay. Stay faithful, stay consistent, stay present, and trust that the everlasting God knows exactly what he's doing with time, yours and his. If this video gave you a new perspective, subscribe for more deep dives into scripture that actually matter. Drop a like if the tamarisk tree illustration hit you differently, and comment with what you're planting this year that you're trusting God to grow. Thanks for watching. Now go plant something eternal.